Hi everyone, good morning. So I hope you are able to hear me. Let me start the cluster. Okay, so till last session we have seen how we can create a data frame and how we can apply transformations on top of the data frame that we came across it. And still we are going to be there with the data frame only, but apart from that, we're also going to see the delta tables. So what do you mean by delta tables and how you're going to create the delta tables? And that we're going to see. And we have a normal table is there and we have a delta table. Okay, so when it comes to the lake house, we are going to have only delta tables. Okay, so here we are going to see one new thing, that is Hive metastore. Hive metastore, we are going to see basically when you observe here, when I hit on this catalog, I'm going to have a Hive metastore here. So Hive metastore is the catalog. Okay, so we are going to have a Unity catalog. I'll I'll take you through at the time of project how we can set up the Unity catalog. And here I'm going to take the Hive metastore. Hive metastore is a catalog. Okay, Hive metastore is a catalog. So this is a traditional catalog. Traditional catalog. Now people are using in place of this, we are going to use Unity catalog. That is the only difference. Okay, so you'll be having more control. You can provide more security when you go for this. And whereas with the traditional catalog, Hive metastore, we are not having it. So for that reason, this Unity catalog is much more famous. And people are using extensively this Unity catalog. And when you go for interview, 100% they're going to ask you about it. But from data engineering perspective, you don't feel any difference between Unity catalog and traditional catalog at the time of working. You don't feel much differences. Okay. Just give me 1 minute, please. I'm back. So here we're talking about, yeah, any
Hi,
question?
hi, sir. Good morning.
Very good morning.
Rajendra here, sir. Sir, actually, I have a question. You
Mhm.
mentioned delta table we have to use in some lake you mentioned.
Lake house.
Okay, sir. My question is related to this lake house. So, what is it?
Okay, we'll see. We just started, right? Once we going
Okay.
forward, then you can understand. Okay, so Hive metastore is the catalog and where we're going to store all the metadata. So not only this, even if we go for Unity catalog or Hive metastore, all this will be used to store only metadata of the tables. Metadata of the tables. You are not going to store the actual data here. Actual data is going to store somewhere else. Your actual data may be there in the ADLS, but your table is there in the Databricks. The table is there in the Databricks. If you go for any database that we came across with the SQL Server or any database, the table will be stored and data will be stored in the same place. But when it comes to here, data is going to be isolated. Your data storage is isolated from the Databricks. Data is sitting in somewhere and metadata is having in somewhere. So that is what it is. Hive metastore, it is a catalog which stores the metadata of the table or a database. So this catalog, when I say catalog, you can feel that it is a database or collection of databases. Okay, so inside this Hive metastore, you can see, I think it is not yet started. So this Hive metastore comes with the default database. So collection of databases is nothing but the metastore catalog. Okay, so default database is there. So default means it's a default database. And we are going to create a database for dev. We are going to create a database for QA. We're going to create a database for prod. So three different databases are going to sit in the catalog. Okay, so that catalog may be Hive metastore. That catalog may be Unity catalog. And I wanted to talk about one more thing is if I wanted to write the data into the target. So till now we have seen how we can create a data frame. How we can create a data frame we have seen. But if you want to store the data into the target, how you can store the data? How you can store the data into the target? Your target is what? ADLS. Or your target is a delta table. So how exactly you're going to load the data into the target? So in order to write the data into the target, we are going to use a write function. Write data frame writer. So when we have seen a spark dot read dot format. In the same way, this is going to give a data frame reader, and to write the data into the target, we need to have a data frame writer. That is data frame dot write. We are going to use data frame dot write function to write the data into the target. So here I'm saying data frame dot write dot mode. We have a different types of modes and format. What type of format you're using? Dot save. You have to specify the path of the file. So this syntax you need to remember in the interview they will ask you. and creates a file in the storage location. If your storage location is ADLS, then it is going to create a file in the ADLS. If your storage location is S3 bucket, it is going to create a file in the S3 bucket. And if I wanted to create a table, or if you wanted to save that as a table, then we are going to use, in place of the format, we are going to use save as table. We're going to use save as table. Then you have to provide the name of the table. When you go for, when you create a table in the catalog, when you create a table in the catalog, what types of tables are there? What are the different types of tables we're having? Okay, so what types of tables we're having? One is managed table. And other is external tables. One is managed table, another is external table. Okay, so how can you say that is a managed table and how can you say that is external tables? We'll talk about it. And if I take this managed table, a table is going to have a metadata, right? Your table is going to have a metadata. So structure of the table is going to be there in the table. Your actual data is going to store somewhere else. So metadata and data is managed by Databricks. When it is a managed table, when you have a managed table, we can say two parts will be there. One is metadata, another is actual data. These two will be managed by Databricks. If two will be managed by Databricks, then those tables we can call it as a managed tables. So what happens when you go for managed table is, if I drop the table, I created some table called employee, and employee metadata and employee actual data is managed by Databricks itself. So if I drop the managed table, your data also is going to be removed because both are tightly coupled. Both are tightly coupled. So because of that reason, if you drop the table, automatically data also will be dropped. Okay, so in some places we are going to use the managed tables. In some places we are going to use the external tables. Now I'm saying here, if you drop a table, if you have a managed table, if you drop a table, both data and metadata will be dropped. Both your metadata and actual data, both will be dropped. So that is the disadvantage. When you go for external table, then it is going to be slightly different. You can see it. When I say external table, metadata is managed by Databricks. Only this metadata only is going to be managed by Databricks. And actual data will be managed by Azure. So if you drop the table, your storage is going to be still there. There will be no impact on your storage because storage location is different. Storage platform is different. So that is what the external table. Metadata is managed by Databricks and data is not managed by Databricks. Data is going to be managed by someone else. That may be Azure, that may be Amazon, or that may be S3, or GCP file system. Okay, so which is not going to be managed by Databricks. So that kind of tables, we can call them as a external tables. So if you drop the table, metadata will be dropped, but the actual data is going to be still there. Now the question is when we are going to use managed table and when we are going to use the external table. Okay, so I'll give that answer for the question, for this particular question. Generally, let's give right away. If I have a underlying data source is Oracle, you're trying to read the data from the Oracle and data is going to be landed in the landing zone, or we can say it is a raw, And from there, it is going to the data to branch. So in branch layer, I'm just going to keep this as a table. We are going to create as a table. But this table, the branch tables always going to be external tables. The first layers of the table is going to be always tables only. Always table, external tables. Because even if the table is dropped, your data is going to be there here. Okay, so data is required to have it. Okay, so if I drop the table, unfortunately here, let's say for example, you're having 5 years of data in the table, and unfortunately you drop the table. Even if you drop the table, your 5 years data is going to be there in the ADLS only. You don't need to read the data from the source again. Okay, so if it is a managed table, if the requirement demands to drop the table, if you drop it, your data also is going to be dropped. In that case, again, you have to read the data from the source. So it's a waste of time and unnecessary, you're giving a burden to the source systems. So to avoid it, in reality, we are going to use the external tables in the first layer of the medallion architecture. And silver, gold and all, if you want to keep the external tables, you can keep external tables, or if you want to keep managed tables, you can keep it. Why people used to go for managed tables is the performance. In some cases, performance will be faster when you go for managed tables. So some performance techniques will be applicable only if the table is managed table. In that case, they may go for managed tables. Okay, so it's up to you. The second, silver and gold, you can go with the managed tables, or even you can also go with the external table. Okay, so clear? Any doubt here as of now with managed tables and external tables differences? 100% they will ask in the interview. Any question, guys? Okay, let's move on. So this is about this point. And to see the mount points, you can use fs.mounts that we already know. Now I'm just trying to create one data frame here. A simple data frame I'm just creating. We already know how we can create a data frame. Again, I'm just showing a list. Inside the list, I have a one record, and this is the second record. Total 2 records I'm having. And these 2 records, I'm giving employee number, employee name, and employee salary. This is the header of the data frame. And if I execute this, just give me a minute. Now, if I execute this one, what happens? Just observe. It is going to show the data frame. We already know we have created data frame directly, and we created data frame with RDD, and we have seen how we can create a data frame by reading data from the file system. Also, we came across it. Now, once you have a data frame, what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to create a managed table. So when we create a managed table, I'm just using the file format as Parquet file format. Okay, so Parquet file format, I'm taking it. Let me check, is that available here? Okay, so nothing is available. I'm just going to create a table on top of the data frame. On top of the data frame, I'm just trying to create a table. So data frame, we already seen how we can create it. In the data frame, I'm just taking data frame dot write dot format. You have to specify what type of format data you're using it. That is what I'm just saying here. Even if we see, okay, so write dot df dot write dot mode dot save as table I'm taking here. I'm just taking df dot write dot format. So in the format, I'm just passing parquet and save as table. So employee underscore parquet underscore A is the name of the table. I just wanted to create this table. Just observe. Let's create it. Once you create this one, you just refresh it. Now table is created. Okay, even if the cluster is dropped because it is a community edition, right? So since it is a community edition, the table will be dropped if it is disconnected. If it is a premium version, your tables, your metadata is going to be remain same. Okay, so I'm having the table here. Just right click on the table, open in Catalog Explorer. Just for understanding. You see the details. So what type of table it is? Employee underscore parquet underscore A is the name of the table. This table of type is managed table. Why it is managed table? You're not giving the path of the file. Where you're storing the file, you're not giving it. You're just giving save as a table. You're saying df dot format, sorry, df dot write dot format. Here I have given parquet dot save as table. And here I have given the name of the table. So this is the name of the table. If you create the table here like this, you're not giving anywhere where do you want to store this file. Where do you want to store the data? You're not giving it. So by default, it is taking some location. So this location was taken for this database. This is the default database location. So whenever you see Hive data warehouse, Hive inside the Hive data warehouse, then that we can call it as a, like, it is a default file path, default location for this particular database. If you want to change, you can change it. But I'm just going to use the default itself at this point of time. And the type of table, it is clearly saying managed. So if you want to know where exactly the data is stored, you have to go to the table, and if you see the details of the table, then you can understand the location of the table. If you go and see here, it is going to help you to see the data. Now just observe, I'm just trying. This is the file location, a db utils dot fs dot ls. Let's close this. You can see employee parquet. There are many things. So what I'll do is, let me say display of. You can see all are the same file only. For the same table, we are having it. Okay. So this is how we can create a data. Now, if I wanted to read the data from this place, if I wanted to read the data from here, what you can do is, I'm just going to say select star from table name. So what you're writing here? You're writing a SQL code. You're writing a pure SQL code. So when the moment you write a select star from, automatically this window is changed to SQL. Because your Databricks is having capability of what you're writing. So select star from table name. So I told you SQL is also is important. SQL is also is important for us. That is what it is. When you write a SQL code in the Databricks, that is a SQL. Now I'm able to see the data here. Now I'm going to create an external table. We have seen how we can create a managed table, and how can you say that is a managed table? When you go for the details of the table, then you can find that is a managed table. So creating managed table with the Parquet file format, we have seen. Okay, so you can also create a table with CSV also, but basically 99% we are going to use the Parquet for the table format. And the next is, I wanted to create a external table. I wanted to create a external table. Same data frame I'm taking. Data frame dot write dot format, same Parquet file format I'm giving. Same as table, save as table I'm taking. Additionally, now I'm taking the path of the file. The path of the file, I'm just taking it. Okay, so MNT ADLS branch, in branch container, I'm creating this table. Okay, so I need to check where exactly this location was there. So I need a mount point here. You need to mount. Again, we are going to see how we can mount them. Branch. So this is my account name. Not sure whether I'm having the storage account or not. Yeah, it is available. So the way we mounted landing zone, in the same way, I just mounted with the bronze also. I just mounted with the bronze also. So I'm just going to take out these files. So I'm not having anything in the bronze. Nothing is available. Okay, so I'm just giving the path of the file, path of the folder. Okay, so here previously it was not there. If we give this, if we give the path, then we can say it is a external table. You're saying where do you want to store the data? You're not storing the data along with your database directory. You're creating only metadata. You're creating only table in the default database. See, default is having a path. So when you create a database, you can have the path. And if you're not interested to store in this data warehouse path, I've shown you right. When you see is that managed table or not, we have seen. So when you see that we have seen the data warehouse path, instead of creating in that place, I wanted to create in a ADLS. So if you want to create the table in the ADL, I mean to say if you want to keep the storage in the ADLS, you have to specify the path of the storage. So that is what I'm saying. Path MNT ADLS branch employee underscore B is the name of the table. I'm taking it. Just execute it. Now, once this is done, if you go and see your storage, just refresh it. Now, storage is available here. You can see. So, these are all the files. Okay. And if I go here, you can find the table. Just refresh this. Now I can see the table is available here, data is somewhere. If you drop this table, your still data is going to be there. Even if I drop this table, there will be no problem. There will be no problem. Okay, so if you can see this, did I write that? No. So I'll do one thing. So to say what happens when we drop your this table, let me drop it here. Drop table. And I also shown you the path of the file. If I take this, after dropping, I'm just executing this a dbutils dot fs dot ls, and let's give this to the display. Let's execute it before dropping the table. I'm able to see the paths. Just observe, I'm going to drop this table. Drop table name. Now, once it is dropped, if you try to see the data here, it is going to say what? The folder is not available. That indicates when you drop the table, your data also both drop. Data structure is dropped and table is also dropped. So no data and no table. If you refresh it, no data and no table. Now, if I do the same thing with this one, you can see I have the files. Even if I drop, okay, so here it is, drop B. Even if I drop, I can see the data. Table is dropped. Your data still is available. Okay, you're not going to lose the data. When you drop the table, it is just going to drop the metadata of the table, not your actual data. Not your actual data. Okay, so I'm just going to create this table again. Okay, so since the file is available there, it is not going to allow you to create it. You have to go for the modes are there. Modes will come into the picture. Okay, so for time being, what I'll do is I'll just take out this folder and recreate them. So if you wanted to restore, I mean to say, if you wanted to do it again and again, you need to use the modes. So different modes are there. We're going to see them. So when you have external tables, you have to drop the table. At the same time, you have to remove the data from the storage also. Then only can go for creation of the table. I mean to say, when we can go for that kind of situation, I'll talk about it. Now this is done. And if we go and see this table here, open in Catalog Explorer. Details. Now I can see the type of table is what? External table. And stored inside the ADLS. Your data stored in the ADLS. So because of that reason, we are saying this is an external table. Okay, this is not a delta table. Okay, so this is just a table. I'm not saying this is a delta table. If it is a lakehouse, then only it is going to be delta table. Or if there is a delta table, then we can say it is a lakehouse. This is a normal table. And creating a table without table name. Okay, so creating a file without table name. So I'm just going to create a file without the table name. You just observe here I'm not using save as table. Just execute this with the same data frame. I'm just trying. Employee underscore C is there. So it is going to write the data in the normal file format. If you go and see your target in employee in Parquet C, we can see only Parquet files are there. It also the same thing. Okay, but table name is not going to be there here. On reading data from the Parquet file, I wanted to read the data from the Parquet file. To read the data from the Parquet file, we already came across it, spark.read.format, and then you can specify the path of the file. And just execute the so that it is going to show the data. So whatever the data you have written into this particular location, the same data I'm just trying to read by using spark.read.format. You can see here. If you have a table name, you can write select star from table name. If you don't have a table name, then you need to give the path of the file. Now, very important thing that I'm just going to talk here is DML operations. If you remember in SQL, we came across that DML operations. Okay, so in weekends, I'm talking about the SQL. And if you're interested, you can join. We just talked about the DDL we completed, DML we completed, and we started a DQL, data querying language. So select is completed. I mean to say select we have come across it. And we're talking about the text functions. Of course, text functions also is done. And if you're interested, you can join on the weekend so that you can get a sequel. Okay, so I have a table employee underscore park underscore B. That is an external table, right? External table is there. I wanted to do the updates. Let's execute this first. You can read the data from there because it is a it is a table. So when you have a table, with the Parquet file format, when you have a table with the Parquet file format, you cannot apply DML operations. DML operations are not possible. In the other hand, if you have a table with delta format, DML operations are possible. Only if the table is created with the delta format, then only can apply the DML operations. Then only can apply the offset operation. Then only can delete, you can apply the delete operation or DML operations in simple words. But if you have a table with the Parquet file format, then you cannot apply the DML operations. That is what I'm saying. When you have a data in the form of Parquet file format, then these kind of tables will not support DML operations. Because of that reason, the lakehouse was introduced. A lakehouse we used to call, or we can also call it as a delta lake. We can also call it as a delta lake. So delta lake is going to be having delta tables. Delta Lake is going to have a delta tables, because why delta tables is important is we are going to apply a DML operations. So I'm trying to show you how we can update or how we can do the DML operations on top of your tables which are having a Parquet file format. I'm just trying to do the update statement here. You can see update your table name, set employee name. I'm just changing the employee name for 101. So what is the 101? You can see 101 is Bhaskar. I just wanted to change the name for this. Any update statement you can take. We already discussed in the SQL for this, how you can do it. Now, if I try to do it, it is not going to execute, because you can see update destination only supports delta sources. How can you say that is a delta sources? That is an entry question. If the file format is a delta, then we can say it is a delta source. If the file format is other than the delta, then that is not a delta source. So this is going to be possible. DML is going to be possible only on the delta tables, not on the normal tables. Okay, you understand my point, right? So if I have a table with the delta, then we can do it. Somewhere I have given, yeah. I'll show you that. Okay, so once we create a delta table, then we are going to see how we can update and how we can insert. And in our project, we are going to use only delta tables. Okay, so people are not using the normal tables. Always, everyone is going to use the delta tables. Okay, so how can you route manage tables as external tables? How can you route manage tables as external tables? We can create a database by specifying the location. So instead of creating a tables in the location of the default database, let's create a database and schema. And by creating a database with the external location, then we can route or manage tables into external location. I mean to say, create a database create a database. If not exists, database name is testing location. Here itself I given. Let's take out this. Okay, so I'm just trying to create a database. Okay, so I can create my own database. We don't need to go for default. I can create my own database by pointing to the external location. So this default database came along with the Databricks. So because of that reason, it has taken its own location. Now create a database. If not exists, the name of the database I'm taking data store, and location I'm just specifying where do you want to create it. So I wanted to create in the landing zone. I think it is available in the landing zone. Let's duplicate this. Containers, landing. Inside landing, I have a data store. What I'll do is I'm just going to take out this. So I don't have a data store database here. Under this Hive metastore, I'm not having it. Now I'm just going to create a database. If not exists, the database name is data store, and location also I'm just giving it. Now if you observe here, it is going to have, just refresh this. You can see the data store. Inside the data store, I don't have anything. And I wanted to create the same table. I mean to say employee underscore parquet underscore A with the parquet file format within the database, within my database, I wanted to create it. So when I create it, I'm not passing the location of the table, but it is going to, by default, it is going to create the a table inside the data store because I'm giving the data store dot table name. So it creates a table inside the data store location. So the data store location is this one. Now if you go and see, just refresh it. Now you can see the data store. Inside the data store, I have a employee underscore parquet. It's a normal table. This is also is not a delta table, but only you're changing the location. If you want to change the location, then you need to have a separate database for you. So that is what I'm just creating separate database by pointing to my external location. Okay, so even if I drop this table, what happens? You just observe. Drop table, table name. Now, if you go and say your storage, that is also removed. Okay, so manage table, when you create a manage table, always when you drop it, it is going to drop the data. Only thing is, if you want to store, if you wanted to route to different location, you can do it. But manage tables, when you drop the manage table, 100% is your data also will be dropped. If it is a external table, then it is not going to drop the table. Okay. And next I'm going to talk about is delta tables. We have seen only the table with Parquet file format. Okay, so delta is a open source version of the Parquet. So on top of the Parquet file only, they have created this delta. So delta is a open source version of your Parquet file. Okay, so now I'm just going to create a delta table. Only thing, in place of the Parquet, I'm just going to give a delta. So that is the only difference. It's an open file source format. So I'm just trying to create this employee underscore Parquet underscore delta in the same location in the delta in the data store. I just wanted to create it. You just observe. Now if we see here, just refresh it. You can have a delta table here. I'm just going to open it in a Explorer. We go to the details. What table it is? Manage table only, because you are not giving the location of the storage. So I created this data store inside the ADLS. So that location only has taken. You can see landing, inside the landing, data store, and so on. It has taken. But this table is a managed table. It's a delta table only. Delta table also is going to have a external and managed. Okay, so I'm just going to have a managed table here with the delta format. The source is delta. So previously it was a Parquet. Now it is a delta format. Let me see, is the table available? See here, the data source is what? Parquet. But here, the data source is delta. Okay, so you can load the data incrementally. Okay, I can read the data from the delta table. Same, select star from table name. So to say it is a delta table or not, you can use this option to say the data source is delta, then we can say it is a delta table. And we can also say in this particular place, let's refresh it. I have a employee underscore delta underscore. You can find there is a inside the delta, you're going to have a underscore delta log. This underscore delta log is going to be available only for delta tables. Only for delta tables it is going to be available. Okay, so I'm also going to create one more one more table with Parquet file. Here itself we have run, right? I'm just trying to create this one. In the storage side, you can see the differences. Now, if you go and refresh this, park underscore A, you can see here along with the Parquet files, in the normal table, I have a Parquet files. Along with that, I have a other files also here. Okay. And when you go to the delta table, so here also I have a Parquet. The files are Parquet. But how can you say that is a delta is if you have a underscore delta log folder. Underscore delta log folder I'm having. So this one will say it is a delta table. Okay, so I'm going to talk little more details about this delta on tomorrow. So I'm stopping here. We'll see the rest of the things on tomorrow. Any question, guys, before stopping?
Sir, we are creating the delta table, right? We created, but when we do that select star from delta employee, we are getting data, right? Where we are loading this data actually, we are just creating the table, right?
That's what I have given, right? While creating this loading, I'm just giving the name of the database. Where it was created, here I've given location.
Yeah.
Inside this one, I'm storing, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it takes this location of this data store.
That is fine, but we are getting that 101 and Raja, this data, right? I'm asking about data. we are not loading this data, right? I
No,
mean,
man, that is what I'm saying. We are saving this table somewhere here. We are saving this table as this one. Where is your data? Data is there in the data frame.
okay, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
data frame. By
Uh,
using this data frame, I'm taking the data. To
okay.
write
In
the
the
data into
very
this
beginning,
location.
yeah, in the very beginning, we created one data frame, right?
Yes. We created this data frame.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to set up the final data frame. From there only you're going to create a delta table. From there only you're going to load the data and so on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
You need to have some practice. Then you can get little clarity. Otherwise, you'll be having a lot of confusion. Even I faced same thing very long ago. Okay. Okay, then we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.